Hey folks, this is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and today we're going to work on a simple necklace using a dark academia beads from Jesse James Beads. I had planned originally to work on a resin project, but I haven't ever done resin before. Well, that's not quite true. I have done ice resin before, but I have not done UV resin. So I had gotten some UV resin and a UV light, as well as a couple of molds, and I had planned on making some earrings. But the UV light needs a USB port, and I don't have one handy close by. So I'm going to have to work on doing that, and then we will work on some resin projects because it looks like fun, and I have some really good ideas. So let's turn down right now and work on that necklace I promised you. As promised, this is going to be a really simple necklace. It's just going to be beaded on the bottom, and then we're going to use some chain reaction up around the neckline. And we're going to use some extreme silver medium SoftFlex wire to do our beading on. So what we're going to do is we're going to, Dark Academia has this really wonderful, now they call it a locket. I don't think of it as a locket because it doesn't have a place for putting pictures in. To me, a locket is for pictures. To me, this is a prayer box. So you open it up here and it opens up, and as you can see, it now has places you can put something in. So now, like I say, I would think of this as a prayer box, or maybe even an aromatherapy box. You could put a little piece of cloth or a lava stone in there with some scent on it. But like I say, I've always thought of these ones that are hollow like this as a prayer box. So that's what I'm going to call this. So we're going to put this in the middle, and then we're going to have these two little black ones on either side. Then I'm going to use these really cool, aren't these cool? I really like these. They have a bead hole from top to bottom here. There is also a tiny little hole in the middle, which you could put something tiny in there if you wish to, but I'm not going to. Then we're going to have this really fun bead, this wonderful big spacer here, or metal bead if you prefer. This really cool purple bicone, a very large purple bicone. Then we're going to use a bead cap and this big crystal here and another bead cap, and that's how we're going to go up this side. Though I am thinking I need another smaller bead here at the top so that it's not, the chain isn't overpowered by this big bead here. So we'll have to decide if I wish to do that or not. So, and I have to decide if I have a teeny weeny little bead that could go right here in this hollow. But I will give that a little thought. We need to get a couple of crimp beads out. We'll need a closure as well. I will probably use a magnetic closure because those are the type I prefer. And say I need to find one bead for right here. And I'm sure I can find one. Probably even in some of my leftover Jesse James beads from other projects. And in fact, let's see here. If I can get this out without dumping a whole bunch of other beads. Come here, baby. These are some little purple, tiny purple beads from Jesse James Beads. Let's see if they'll drop into that hole there. Yeah, they will. So we'll just use a couple of those for inside our spacer there. And maybe, let's see how out of whack these would be with these little black one up here. I think that would be way too small. Very much overpowered. So I will look around here in just a moment and I will see what I can find to put here so that it's not overpowering these others. I don't think I have anything more in Dark Academia that will work, but we'll check. I have gotten out what's left of our Dark Academia, and I'm thinking that this other bead that has the branch on it, rather than just using another crystal, would look pretty good up there. So I think I'll dig out the other one of those, and we will use those. Not much left of my Dark Academia. So now that we've got that out, I will get a couple of silver crimps. Though we don't need them right this second. Could probably wait till I got our beads strung. Oop, that's way more than we need. We only need 2. And then we'll need also 2 jump rings and the magnetic clasp for the top. So here are a couple of jump rings. Now with this chain reaction, you need to use a small jump ring because the bigger ones will not go through the little loops on the chain. And lastly, I will need a magnetic clasp. And this is a tiny little magnetic clasp. As you can see, it's very small, but they also are very, very strong. So I won't worry about them holding this because it doesn't matter that they're really tiny. They are very strong. I can see if I can get this apart here. I have to shove my fingernail into it to do it. So we'll put that aside up here. And the first thing we need to do is, of course, cut our SoftFlex wire. Again, we're using Extreme Sterling Silver Medium SoftFlex. And we'll need enough, well, you know what? We'll just work from the spool. Then I know for sure that I will have enough wire. That's the easiest way to do it. If you don't want to work from the spool, then I've already got the beads set out, so we need about that much. So I'm going to put a bead stopper on this one side. Okay, so we are just going to string this onto our SoftFlex just as we have the beads laid out here. But after giving it a little thought here, I'm thinking I want a couple of crystals here. So I'm thinking I'll put the crystal right there like that. I'll get the other one and put it in a dish. So let's get these strung up just like I have them laid out here. As you'll recall, I was going to put that little bead in the center here, but after looking at it a little better, I realized it was sitting with its hole up here at the top, and when I turned it back sideways, it was too big to go into there, so we're going to just leave that without a bead in it. And now we'll just follow the pattern on the other side for this other side. So just like this, up the other side here. Now you'll notice I just pulled that back out because I looked over here and noticed that these little branchy things were going the opposite direction. I wanted them to go the same direction, both facing this direction. So I took it off and put it back in place so it would go more of a way that I felt was cohesive. And again, I just did that with this one so that it looks like the branch is facing upwards as opposed to down. Now let's lift this and put it down in a pattern so we can see how it sits. And we have to make the decision if we want to add anything more to it or if it's good the way we have it. Now I do like it. I would have liked to have been able to find a teeny weeny bead to put in there, but I did check my other 3mm and they're too big. It would need like a 2, and I'm not sure I have a 2 anywhere. That's very, very small. So I'm still debating a cap for this purple one. I really would like it to have a cap, I think. So I'm going to go look through my stash, see if I can find a cap for this purple bead. And if I can, then we will get a cap on it. So after giving it a little thought, I did decide I want to put some bead caps on the purple ones, so I did get some. And even though that little 3mm bead would not fit in here, I thought, well, a seed bead would. So I'm going to get a couple of these little seed beads out here and put one of those inside that. Actually, 2 might even go in there. We'll give it a try. If 2 will go in, we put 2 in. If only 1 will go in, we'll put 1 in. But we will put something inside that little hollow spot. These particular ones are from Jesse James Beads. They say they're white or clear or something like that, but they look like they have a slightly blue cast to me. I really think they're pretty. Anyway, so let's get these off because we're going to put those bead caps on for sure. So oh yeah, I like that better. So anyway, here's our put on one for sure. The little seed beads in here and see how that looks. I'm not sure a second one will go in, but we can give it a try. See if it'll sit down in there now. It might. So let's get the wire out and try and pull her through and see how she's doing. Now here's the tricky part. It will either go through or it won't. Let's give this less cord. Gonna go in there, babies? It did. Excellent. 2 will work. So we can put 2 in. I've kinked this wire up here pretty good, so I'm going to cut this off again, like I did the last time I did it. Get this on. Now we'll get this. 2 little beads. Now the easiest way to do a trap like this is to go all the way back and out until you're almost out of that bead. Push them into place and then push your wire back through. Now see, I don't have them quite in place because it won't come through the hole, so we need to get it in place so that will come through the hole. There we go. There it comes. And that looks much better, in my opinion, with the little beads inside it, as opposed to not having anything in there. Now, as you can see, I did kink up this wire a little bit up here too. Now, if it looks like it's going to stay kinked like that, I will cut the extra wire off. But you can usually get it, since it doesn't appear to have any damages, you can usually get it straightened out. Now the bead cap and the purple. And the other bead cap. Well, its bead cap wants to come with it, so I guess it wants to go on right away. Crystal, and our last little bead. Now, we have her all put together again. Now all we have to do is put on our chain and our toggle. Okay. So now the question is since we don't need that much wire, we only need about this much, is this kink going to create a problem? And that's what we want to find out. Oops. Bead cap rows, bead stopper, that's what it's for, so you don't lose your beads. That was rather clumsy of me. Okay. Now let's see if we can figure out where that kink was and if it's going to create a problem. And it doesn't look like it will. So let's put our bead stopper down here and cut our wire. There we go. Now the next part is to put on our chain. Now we decide where we want the chain to sit at. This is chain reaction number 11 that we're using. This is from Jesse James Beads. and its break is right here. Now, I'm thinking, unless I don't want it this long, we'll just break this in half down here to hook here. Come off there, baby. And then all the way up here and take it off here. But let's decide for sure how long we want it to be first. How long is it right now is the biggest question. And right now it is about 8 inches. So the Jesse James beads chain is 18. So if I were to put it directly on here, we'd then end up with a 26-inch necklace. And I don't think we want it to be that long. So let's see. Maybe 20 inches, 22 tops, I would say. So let's take it off the ring here. I'm thinking, do we want the bead right there at the end? We could put the bead right there. So if we want it to be about 20 to 22, and it's 8 right now, we need to add 6, 12 inches, 12 to 14 inches. So that would be thinking we'll cut it right here. And hook these 2 ends with the beads right to the end of the necklace. And then we'll split it in the middle to put on our toggle clasp. And this will be our extra. Now I always save extra pieces of my chain reaction because they are great for making earrings. I have a real thing about using scrap chain for my earrings. They work great that way. We'll just put this aside. And then we will cut this piece in half. Right up here at the top. And now we have 2 pieces of chain. One will go on one side, one will go on the other, and then we will put the magnetic clasp at the top. Okay, now that we have these cut, we need to put on our crimps and put the chain on. So, oops, where did I drop it to? There it went. Put the crimp on. Put the chain through, since we want it towards the crystal. That's where we're going to go first. Then we bring this through the crimp tube. Snug her up closer to the wire. We don't want it too close because we don't want it so tight that it's sort of pinched, but that's pretty close right there. Now I use the magical crimper, which has a divot in the middle, and you just put your tube right in the middle of that divot and then push down and then turn it sideways. Make sure she's in the middle again, push again, and continue to go around in sort of a circle all around your crimp tube until it doesn't squish anymore, and then give it a tuck test. And as you can see, it forms a little bead. And let's push the other beads back up into it, go sideways here, tighten this up a little bit more here. Now we need to get the other one and get the other side attached. And this side didn't matter if you were right beside it when you did it, because it was, you know, you're gonna move your beads around. This side we do want to be relatively close up there when we crimp it. On the other hand, we don't want to be so tight that we've made our necklace so it has no flexibility. So when you do this, make sure you've got some bows in your bead strand so that it's not up really, really tight. So now we have this in. We will go down through the crimp tube again. Oh, baby, go in. Now we want to go through this next bead. Now, if it wants to go through a number of beads, let it. Won't hurt anything. The biggest challenge then is just to get it your beading wire pulled down to a place where you want it at. Because once you push it, as you can see, it now has a gap again. So I need to pull this wire up some more. Then we want to push that down again because, see, it keeps gapping right there where the beads come together. So we need to keep working that till we get it to the tightness we want it to be. Now, because I've got this way, I want this just a bit more. Well, maybe I don't, because we do want this. So, yeah, just a teeny touch. Okay. Let's see how much gap we have around. Okay, that should be good. Now we need to get that little crimp tube in the middle of our pliers again, to the middle of my crimp. Crimp it and go around and around and around, and then do a tug test. And as you can see, I did get a gap in there. However, this is out of its place, so once it pulls down in more into where it should be, this is up where it should be. So now let's get this extra wire turned, cut off here, making sure you cut the right wire, because it's relatively easy to cut the wrong one, unfortunately. And then we have our chain on our necklace. And now we just have to put on our magnetic clasp and it will be done. So all we need to do to put the magnetic clasp on is to get 2 pair of the chain nose pliers, your clasp, and your 2 jump rings. We'll take the first one, and open it up with a twisting motion. Go through one of our ends and then through our clasp. Now see, the clasp is gathering up on the pliers already. So then we will put this into place. Now we get the other side and put it on. Come on, you. Okie dokie. Check to make sure your jump rings are closed. This one's a little open, so we will squish it back together again. There we go. And our necklace is finished. There we go. Isn't that pretty? And I am glad I decided to see if the little seed beads would fit in there, because that looks much better than having bare wire. So there's our necklace. Okay, and here is our finished necklace. Isn't that pretty? I really like this little prayer box down here. This is really cute. And I think it all worked out quite nicely. So I hope you enjoyed watching us make this necklace. And this has been Rose from In Rose's Garden, and I'll see you the next time.